and gentlemen of the internet, fine denizens therein. This is the Order of Tier podcast, the OoTPC number 006. I am Jordan B. Sanders, and I am joined virtually through the intertubes by Mr. Michael the Hammer K. Kludzinski. How are you doing tonight, Mr. Hammer K?
I'm fantastic, Jables. How are you this fine evening?
I'm pretty good now that we're taking our second trial at this podcast tonight. After our buffoonery that we engaged in earlier this evening that caused us to lose about 10 to 15 minutes of recording time. But that's okay.
In other news, apparently my ceiling fan is wired into my audio interface on my computer as I turned it off and everything stopped working.
Yeah, that handy switch on the wall is just, it's a 2-in-1. It not only turns your fan on and off, it also, sends a power surge through your whole house, just in case you weren't ready for it.
Exactly.
Just a test.
It kind of reminded me of Christmas Vacation, like how that one power switch in their basement or whatever in some random room turns on, all the power to the outside of the house.
Right. Oh, man. But anyway, not to bore you listeners with our mishaps from earlier, we are moving forward in a timely manner here. So let's do that, and let's start with some band news. So, Mr. Hammer K, I think you didn't have any band news before. Is that still the case? Or
that is correct.
Since occurred.
Nothing has changed in the past 5 minutes, but I believe, if memory serves me correctly, that you have a couple band newses.
In fact, I do, Mr. Sir Hammer K. I have some news that is potentially lamentable to a degree, but some news that I think makes up for it. So, a couple episodes ago on the podcast, I was speaking about a guitar that I had ordered from Agile, like a custom or semi-custom guitar. I have since canceled that order because I decided to spend that money on video games. Because video games.
Because video games.
Because why not?
I think that's a valid thing, and it's completely acceptable.
The real problem was that I just watched way too many videos on YouTube of Super Mario Maker, so I had to go out and buy a Wii U and Super Mario Maker. So that is a thing that happened. And we'll probably talk about that here in a little bit. But in addition to that, I also picked up an Elgato Game Capture HD 60 so that I can do some recording of gameplay footage and put that up there for the internet to consume. Because
yes.
The internet, we know there's a dearth of that sort of content on the internet. But but I want to put our spin on it, kind of do our thing with it too, just to have some fun because it's just fun to do those sorts of things.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, sometime in the near future, we will be doing said things together, and that
would be most excellent.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be interesting and not completely a waste of everybody's time involved. But
no, not at all. I mean, I'm gonna have fun, so.
Exactly.
That's all that matters to me.
We will share our fun with the world, and they can like it or not.
I mean, I love watching that stuff, so I'm sure there's at least a couple people out there that might be interested in watching it.
Exactly.
So that's the band news. I don't think there was anything else we had to cover in that segment. Is there, Mike?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, so let's move on to what we're playing. We're going to do that again because that was fun last time, and we're playing different things now, or at least we have different things to speak of. So,
yes.
Mr. Kludzinski, I'll let you go first.
Oh, snap! Okay. So I actually just beat Chrono Trigger yesterday.
Oh,
so
how convenient!
Right, that was cool. Actually. The final boss on my first try, so I guess I leveled enough to where it wasn't completely impossible.
Yeah, you grinded for like 8 hours or something.
Yeah, I did a bunch of extra things, extra missions. Like I probably leveled. I think when I actually beat all the main quest line, I was like level 34-ish or something, and then when I fought Lavos, I was like
99.
Right. I was close. I was like level 51-ish. So
okay, yeah. You almost doubled your levels.
Yes. But yeah, Chrono Trigger is Chrono Trigger, and it's awesome. And I feel very happy to knock that one off my list of games that I have not beaten that I need to beat. So yeah, other than that, a little game came out this past week called Transformers Devastation. that I have been playing, and this game has caused me to go through numerous pairs of panties this past week.
Tell me exactly how sweet this game is.
Well, okay. So imagine Bayonetta.
Okay.
Literally exactly Bayonetta,
Yes.
but put
I'm already sold.
Transformers G1 on it. Storyline, characters, voices, everything.
Here's my wallet. Take it.
Right. So yeah, this game is like everything I've ever wanted a Transformers game to be, and there have been Transformers games for me are kind of like Sonic games because it's something very near and dear to my heart, and they're extremely hit or miss. Transformers War for Cybertron was pretty good, but there have been some other ones like the movie games that came out that were just garbage and
Kind of like the movies.
yeah, right. So yeah, but this game, it's made by the Platinum Games developer of Bayonetta, and it plays exactly like Bayonetta. So if you do not like Bayonetta, you will not like this game, unless you are an uber Transformers fan. But it even has kind of the witch time, that mechanic.
Oh yeah.
So that's cool. It just, the way that you fight, it has that same rewarding feel to it.
It's like Cybertron time.
Yeah. Actually, I don't remember what it's called. It's like Focus or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's basically Witch Time. It is Witch
Right.
Time. The shooting aspect of this isn't as heavy as it has been in past Transformer games. This is kind of more of a hand-to-hand combat kind of game. There is you do have weapons and guns and that kind of stuff, and you can shoot. But yeah.
As in Bayonetta.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean it's pretty much the same kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got all as much of the original cast was still alive as they could
Oh yeah.
to be to do the voices for this game, and it's just like it is spot on, and the plot is stupid and corny, just like the TV show. It's like, Megatron just has some stupid freaking plan that he's gonna use to take over the world, and the Autobots are fighting the plan. And
So the burning question is, does Starscream appear in this game?
Okay, so that was the next thing I was going to talk about. Starscream is my favorite Transformer, so I'm very critical of him. And I would definitely say and the voice of Starscream is no longer with us, unfortunately. Sure. This is the first time that I have heard a Starscream voice, and I mean you can tell it's not the same guy, but
Right.
it's very accurate, and I think a lot of the things that they do differently now, or I won't say wrong, but wrong, is
They're not wrong, but they're wrong.
they make Starscream really whiny and like irritating sounding, and it's like this bro has the word scream in his name. Everything he says just sounds like it's in all caps. And so he actually sounds like that. He doesn't sound like a little whiny dude. He actually, just screams everything.
Nice. Nice.
But yeah, it's very slick. It's very fluid. The way that obviously you can transform mid-fight and move around and whatever. And there are not that many characters. There's Optimus and Bumblebee and Sideswipe, I think, and Grimlock and Wheeljack. I'm pretty sure those are the only characters you can play as.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But it's that each one is very, plays very differently.
Yeah.
So you just kind of pick the way that you want to play and roll with it. But yeah.
Oh, I see what you did there.
But yeah, if you like Transformers, especially Generation 1 Transformers, I would highly, highly recommend this game. If you like hack and slashes, Bayonetta especially, I would highly recommend this game. And if you like both of those things, you like just now immediately. But yeah, I've heard that the game is a little short. I haven't beaten it yet, so I don't really know. It might be good to wait a little while for price. It's $50 right now. might be a better $30 game. But for me, I
Yeah.
I couldn't resist that. So yeah.
It says Transformers in the title, so
Yes.
Day one, week one purchase.
Exactly. And also, all the music, by the way, if you like us as a band, you like video game metal, whatever, then chances are you probably like metal, and all the music in this game is either, symphonic metal. It has Vince DiCola from the original Transformers movie. So there's like some metal stuff mixed with the 80s synthy, whatever, prog, all that craziness. So yeah.
Nice.
All aspects of this game are very highly recommended.
Unfortunately, that's not on the Wii U, right?
No, it's for I don't know why, but
Like nothing's on the Wii U. That's why.
But there are so many great games on the Wii U. It's ridiculous.
I'm not. I mean, I just bought the console. There was a reason for that,
right?
It wasn't just like, oh yeah.
It is for PS3, PS4, 360, Xbox One, and Steam.
Oh, okay. I can just get it on Steam then, because they got a pretty decent PC.
I think it's out on Steam now. I'm pretty sure. I know if it's not out now, it's going to come out on Steam. But
okay, well, that's cool. GTK.
But yeah, it is fantastic, and it makes me moist in many areas.
Which is precisely what I wanted to know.
Yes.
All right. Well, so sounds like that's a great review and endorsement of Transformers Devastation there. So go pick that up. I would if it were if I had some money left over after my recent spending escapades, but perhaps soon.
Yes.
Well, I've been playing, if you haven't already guessed, a whole lot of Super Mario Maker on the Wii U. What else? And let me assure anyone who's on the fence about this game, it is totally worth it. Like, it's worth buying a Wii U for this game. IMO. This is completely just my opinion. But it was the real reason I bought a Wii U. I mean, of course, Bayonetta 2. I've been wanting to play that game forever. That alone wasn't enough because I was probably, falsely hopeful that it would be ported to another console. At this point, probably not. Maybe I'll be surprised. I don't know.
I'm not going to lie to you, Jables. I bought a Wii U for Bayonetta 2. Like, there have been a million games that I have made me do backflips inside my left leg. But, but yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Anyway.
I mean, honestly, I was going to sit this generation out because I had, a 360, a PS3, a Wii.
Yeah.
And so I was just going to ride this generation out and probably be an early adopter on the next generation. But Super Mario Maker really pushed it over the top. I mean, Bayonetta 2 almost did by itself, but those two together, it's just... I don't need any other games on the Wii U. There don't have to be any other good games, which I know there are other good games, don't get me wrong, but those are sufficient enough for in my mind, it to be worthwhile picking up a Wii U.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've spent many hours already, and I've only had the console for a little over a week, but I've spent many hours playing the most difficult levels I can find in Mario Maker, and it's unreal. Just there's so many facets to this game, right? I mean, you can spend a lot of time just finding really hard levels and playing them. You can spend a lot of time playing like the 10 Mario, the 100 Mario challenge, where the 10 Mario challenge is like I guess levels made by Nintendo or their team that you go through, and it kind of gives you an experience of like what you can make with Mario Maker, and also kind of like sort of like another Mario game. I mean, it's not really, the levels are shorter than they would be. They're not 100% on the design where they would have spent lots of time on the design if it were like a full-fledged release, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. I think sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I think in that mode, I know they went around to different places and got people to make levels, and they had like little mini competitions, and then they picked like one like Facebook. They had a competition at Facebook, and then a bunch of their developers and staff made levels, and then they like had some kind of competition, and then ended up picking a few of those levels and put them in there.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I had no backstory on that, so that's pretty cool.
I think they did it at IGN too, and a few other places. But yeah.
Sweet. Oh yeah, so I mean that's a cool mode. And then the 100 Mario challenges, it actually picks levels that players have made all around the world, and puts them in there. And let me assure you that expert mode with the 100 Mario challenge is not something to be treated lightly. Some of the levels aren't so bad, but some of them, holy crap.
Yep, I have seen some whoppers.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I highly recommend the game. I don't foresee myself discontinuing playing it anytime soon. I'm sure I will have multiple hundreds of hours sunk into it by the time it's said and done. But yeah, like that those are two aspects of the game, and then also there's the whole that hasn't even touched the making side of it, and you can make really cool, ridiculous stuff and play it. And of course, there are drawbacks. It's not a perfect game. You go out there trying to find levels, and you're gonna find tons and tons and tons of autoplay levels, tons and tons and tons of levels where it's like they play music if you just run right, and it's like those are cool. But
the thing that's funny to me about especially the auto playing levels, like, in the title of the level, it says, literally, do not touch anything and you will win. And this level still has, like, not 100%.
Complete.
Yeah, a 50% clear rate. And it's like, what are you people doing around here?
Well, I actually spent some time thinking about that. Myself, I could see wanting to, like, just mess around and see what happens if I just run through and see what, and don't let it autoplay. But also, what if it gets selected for like 100 Mario challenge? If you don't, I guess you see the title of the level, but you may not pay attention to it when it loads. You see it for a lot longer when you're like scrolling through levels and you pick one. But can you imagine that being one of the levels you get and you didn't see that it was an autoplay level?
And then there's just junk all over the screen. It's like, oh!
Right. So I wonder if that counts toward completion. I would assume so, but I don't know if those, the ones that they randomly select for 100 Mario Challenge, if that counts toward completion rates. I would expect that it would, but yeah, that is kind of funny, right? It's like all caps, do not press anything, and then 80% completion.
Right.
Okay, come on, guys. Or it's like just run left. What I like are the levels where it's like it's really simple to beat it, but the knowing what to do is like kind of encoded in the title. Like there's this one level that I played, it was just called Chill. That's all it was called, CHIIL, the word chill. And it was like just like those big spiky ball things. It was like that, like in a maze, like not really a maze, but it was like they all sent you like through this like tower going up, and then it like slanted down, and it was like, how in the world can I make it through all of that? Like if you look at it, you just don't know, and there's no way to do it. There's literally no way to do it unless you get up on a box at the top and you just press left. You don't run. If you run, you're gonna die, but you just walk off of it. If you walk off of it, you fall just perfectly through all of that stuff, and then you can get to the end.
Wow.
So it's kind of like cryptic, like what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff's pretty cool, I think. But yeah, like the best levels in my opinion are like the Super Mario World ones and the new Super Mario Brothers U ones, where that like really abuse the spin jump mechanic, where you have to like spin jump on things you wouldn't normally be jumping on. Like the completionist Gerard, he's got all kinds of levels that are like that, and there's one where oh man, I forget what those things are called, but from Super Mario World, the little caterpillar things, like the yellow caterpillar things. Like the beginning of the level, it's just one of those falling from the top. It's like, there's no ground. It's like completely empty, and it's just one of those falling from the top. And you have to spin jump on that, and then there's another one, so you have to spin jump on that too. It's like, wow. It takes you a while just to realize, okay, one, that's what you need to do, and then two, to get the timing just perfect to do it. 'Cause, like, that's what these really hard levels, people space stuff just perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
Where you have to do it exactly how they want you to do it.
Man, I have seen some serious levels that is just somebody spin jumping, just and they're just bouncing across, like it's just a wave of spikes, and people, and you know, like there was a Babam one where have you seen this? I mean,
I don't know.
There's all these different like little sections. It's kind of like a Mega Man level, how there's like one part and then like a next screen and then the next screen.
Yeah.
So there's like all these different sections where you do something with a Babam, and half the time it involves you picking it up and then waiting till it's about to explode and then throwing it and then bouncing off another Babam, and then you end up like skidding across spikes and crap, and then it's ridiculous.
Man.
The physics levels are the ones that get me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I really wish that there were, like, some glitch jumps you could do. Because, like, that would be really cool. You can do things like what's it called? Like shell jumping. Where you, I think it has to be Super Mario World that does this. Where you get a shell, and then you run and jump. And then you kick the shell, and then you roll fast, press left and right, and press B, and pick up the shell again. And then, so that what happens is, it's like you jumped off the shell again. So it's like it creates a platform where you are right there, where the shell is for just a second. And then when you pick it back up, it's like it thinks you jumped again off of it. So it's like a double jump.
Wow,
it's ridiculous. Yeah, there's a level that used it that was like that's just called like shell jumping or something like that, or like you can shell jump. That was what the level was called, because I guess the person who made it was surprised that you could that they left that mechanic in.
Wow.
Yeah, it took me a long time to actually pull it off, because I had to look it up online. I was like, what? How do you do this? And like then when you read the instructions, that's literally what they say. They're like, pick up a shell, run, jump, let go of B, press left or right very fast, then press B again as fast as you can. And it's like, it takes 50 tries before you're actually able to do it. And it's like, I can't even do it consistently, but it's ridiculous to watch things like that happen. I just wish we had like some glitch jumping, like, Super Mario 64, where you do like the triple jump backwards and like go upstairs really fast.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff was really cool.
Oh man, I wasted so much time in that game just doing nothing.
Oh, I know.
Especially trying to find Luigi in it, because that was the thing.
Well, everybody was convinced that you could find Luigi, or that you could ride Yoshi.
Yes.
I mean, obviously Yoshi was in the game, and so most of us freaked out when we finally found out that was the case. Man, yeah, but that was like the hugest urban legend ever.
Yes.
Luigi's actually in the game. Man.
Like I remember, it was back in the days of MSN. I had MSN dial-up, and I went to some website and printed off this huge list of how to find Luigi and all like supposed whereabouts of Luigi, and then I spent hours doing all this stupid crap over and over again.
Yeah, I just and the thing is, like, why did we care about that as a kid?
I have no
it's so funny.
Clue.
Like, thinking back now, it was like big deal. It would just be a color swap on the Mario sprite. Well, I guess that's not a sprite in Mario 64, but it would just be like the same model with the green instead of red.
Eventually, I got a Game Shark, and there was a code that did like some kind of swap or whatever, and then it was like, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. We have Luigi in Mario 64.
Luigi with an M on his hat.
Yes, we can all rest in peace.
That's funny. Oh man, but that was a huge thing, and we're getting on a tangent here. But that was a huge thing as kids, like all of these like legends of things that you could do. Like, like the real big one was like Mortal Kombat. Like, I don't know if this was on the Super Nintendo one, because like I had the Genesis one, but Mortal Kombat on the Genesis, like the whole reptile thing, like for a while people were like, oh yeah, you could fight this dude at the bottom of the pit, and like everybody's like, what? No, that's not true. Yeah, it turns out you actually can, but the conditions to make it happen are like stupid rare, and if you don't like, I don't even know if it naturally happens, honestly. I played that game a lot, and I never naturally saw any of those silhouettes move across the moon on the pit that you have to see to make it happen. But if you put in debug mode or whatever, you can make it happen every time.
Debug
and then the whole
mode.
yeah, and that's a whole nother thing too, right? That debug mode's being built into games still, like in not in production builds,
right?
But and then the whole AirMac thing too, right? I mean, that wasn't even real. Like everybody thought that. Yeah, okay, so now they found Reptile. They thought there was another character, AirMac. You know,
Yeah.
it was like a same ninja sprite, but like, well, not sprite again. Did they make those sprites when they did that motion capture? I don't know.
I have no idea.
The character model, I'll call it a model for lack of a better term. That with red colors, that, you know, obviously Reptile was green, and AirMac stood for error macros, and it was like you glitched the game to make it happen, and this, that, and the other, and it was like, that wasn't real or whatever, and then later on they actually made AirMac as a character just to mess with people. Anyway, that's a huge tangent. So
I love tangents. Our tangents are the best.
Oh man,
I was about to go up and talk about Pokemon and start talking about Missing No. About
what?
Missing No. Have you heard of this?
No. Hey, let's save that for next week. We have actually not announced that. We should announce that on Band News. You want to do that? Let's go. We're gonna rewind here. We have some extra band news to share. We are going to be doing every other week. So the way we're doing this podcast is we record it every other week and it comes out every other week. But on the off weeks, we're going to be doing a Google Hangout live on air. Just kind of like the podcast, but a little more unfiltered. Like with the podcast, we try to be a little directed, but as you just heard, we go on tangents sometimes. But we want to like have sort of a forum where we can explore these tangents and just, you know, speak about what comes to mind instead of being so structured as we try to be with the podcast. So starting next week, we're going to be doing that. And then in fact, if the plans are still in place, we're going to actually be live together for that one.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty stoked about that. And I think going forward, that will be a good forum for us to, pin tangential topics when they come up in the podcast and say, hey, we'll talk about that in the next Hangout.
I agree.
We'll probably call those something different then. It won't be a podcast per se, but it'll be a Hangout or something. We'll figure out a clever name for it.
We're all about clever names.
Yeah. So, with that, are we ready to move on to our final topic for the evening?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so, oh man, I did not turn off my phone. Was that you or was that me? Oh, I
just made a note.
Okay, final topic of the evening. So we were gonna have a discussion here. I guess this kind of is a natural subsequent topic from our speaking about DRM, physical versus digital, and the things that we spoke about, related to that.
Yep.
And I've kind of jabbed this one in here sideways a couple times, saying, hey, we gotta talk about this sometime on the podcast. And that's buying new versus buying used, and philosophies behind one or the other. Is one better than the other? It doesn't matter. Things like that. I think it bears having a discussion on that topic. So, Michael, what are your thoughts about used versus new? Do you always buy new, always use some of both? Do you have any philosophical stance on it?
I swing both ways with this, Jables. It's interesting for me because I just kind of go with what I feel necessary. Like, so if it's an old game, like if it's an old retro game, I'm going to buy it used. It kills my soul to open a sealed game from 1985.
Oh my goodness.
I just, I would not, no,
You can't do that expect to live.
Exactly. So when it comes to, collecting retro stuff, whatever, I, pretty much always buy that used. So end of discussion there. So as far as modern things go, for me, it really just depends on the game. Like, if it's a game that, I really, really like the developer, I really like something else that they've done, I'm a huge fan of the series or whatever, and just, generally, I just can't wait for this game to come down in price or used copies to even be worth getting, then I'll just get it new. Case in point, Transformers.
Right.
Yeah, I just, no way I'm waiting on that. If it's, maybe like, I don't really like Call of Duty anymore, but if I wanted to play one of the newer Call of Duty games, I wouldn't buy that new. I would wait until it's like, $10 to $20, and then I would buy a used copy of that just because,
Right.
I'm not really invested in that series, I guess. But also, as far as buying new, a lot of times if it's a game that, maybe it's like a new IP, a new idea, or something like that, and then I've seen reviews of the game, other people have played it and recommended it, and I kind of, want to support that game by buying, a new copy of it, then I'll do that. Such as like, Bayonetta 2 or whatever. I mean, that kind of classifies as a game where I'm a fan of the series or whatever, but, I would buy that new just because I want to, cast my vote for that game, so to speak, or whatever. Just because there have been some games in the past that I've really enjoyed. Metal Arms is one for the original Xbox. I don't know. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen it, but I've not played it.
It's like a third-person shooter, like kind of quirky, cartoony kind of deal. Yeah. Story is kind of similar to Short Circuit, where a like military kind of robot, is alive or whatever and escapes, whatever. But that game has a really big, cult following or whatever because it was a really good game, but nobody bought it, so it didn't go anywhere. And the developer, I don't even know who owns that right now, but basically the developer doesn't own that IP, and it was one of those disastrous scenarios.
Sure, because it wouldn't have been made if the publisher hadn't had all the money in it, and they're part of the terms of that, or they own the IP, etc.
Right. So, games like that didn't sell. It was a great game, but, it's just not going to go anywhere as a series because it didn't sell.
Yeah.
There have been other games like Beyond Good and Evil, which has, in recent years, resurfaced. I think they've realized, hey, this is actually something good that we have here. But it took a lot of vocalization to get that to happen.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that. I think the difference being for the way that I approach things, and I've said in the past I mostly buy used games. The exceptions being the things like you said that are serious things that I want to support. I didn't actually do Bayonetta 2 because it would have required me to buy a new console. Had I already owned a Wii U when it came out, I would have bought Bayonetta 2. Not only that, kind of the politics behind that happening, it's kind of like the writing on the wall that there's not going to be a Bayonetta 3. Mm-hmm. I would be very surprised if there's a third Bayonetta game. Pleasantly surprised, but a surprise nonetheless. So I think that for me, it made sense to be a little more patient with that. And as I've said before on the podcast, I'm definitely a patient gamer, with the exception of few things. Generally, it requires several games on a console for me to consider wanting to purchase a new console. The major exception to that has been the PlayStation 2, which in hindsight was was a perfect coincidence that I was able to get that console because the only reason that I wanted a PlayStation 2 was because Silent Hill 2 was not going to be on the PlayStation 1, and I wanted to play Silent Hill 2. Obviously, PlayStation 2 is one of the greatest consoles ever made. Maybe that's not a merit of the console, but obviously software-wise, right? All the games on it. The library is pretty phenomenal, as most consoles go. And of course, back then was a huge time of console exclusives. Obviously, that still happens today, but it's much less prevalent than it used to be. So, like, for example, Silent Hill series itself, right? I mean, Silent Hill 2 was only on PlayStation 2. Didn't come out on any other console at the time. Versus, the last couple Silent Hill games have been on at least 2 different consoles.
Yep.
So, that's informed my decision. But, like I said, generally, I buy used. Part of that is that I don't buy a lot of games. There's not a lot of games that I'm into. Generally, I think that spending money on a brand new game I take it as a much stronger signal than even I think most people do. You mentioned that, that's casting your vote for the game, and I believe that to a huge degree. I believe that with everything that I do, not just video games, but very significantly video games. I don't want... maybe this is mean to say this. I kind of use it as a tool to judge publishers in their practices.
Yeah.
Right? So if they've done stuff that I think's like crappy, like microtransactions is a number one way to not get me to buy your game new. And no matter how cheap it gets, even if it goes down to like $20 new, if you have microtransactions in your game and it's $20 new and it's $19.50 used, I'm buying used. It's just a matter of principle at that point.
Yeah.
But going back to another point that you made, I think was really good. You said that waiting until it makes sense, value-wise for a used game, to buy it as a used game. That's an important point that I think a lot of people, well, I won't say a lot of people, but it's not mentioned a whole lot. You go to like GameStop or something, and like, for example, Mario Maker, let's take that for example. I bought that new. I wouldn't have bought that used anyway. That's one of those games where Nintendo did a good thing by making that game. I want to signal to them that they did a good thing. Yeah. They did a good. So, but if I were to buy like Mario Maker used now, it's like less than it's like $10 or less than new, right? I mean, you're gonna save $10 maximum by buying it used.
Yeah.
I understand $10 can be a lot of money, and you can buy other games for $10, but a lot of times that just doesn't make sense, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen, I don't even remember what, like, for example, I think it was like the last Gears of War that I bought, new $60 used, and I got it like, the week it came out or whatever. Yeah. New $60, used 57 or something like that. And it's like,
who even does that? Like, honestly, who buys it? One, who brought it back in the first place? I mean, I guess it could have been somebody who opened it and just didn't like it because they have like a return policy at GameStop. But who's going to buy that used? Like, I saved $3. I'm going to go buy a pack of bubble gum.
Right.
I mean,
got to get that Diet Coke in there too.
Yeah, exactly. And I hate saying that because that sounds like really uppity and really like, oh man, $10 is like no money, and that's not true because I know to a lot of gamers $10 is a whole lot of money. I guess it's just one of those things. It's hard for me to frame that when I'm buying a $50-$60 game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's like $20 less, then I can really see that because $20 definitely gets you a whole lot of really good used games.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. For me, I just can't justify that. It's like I'm, saving $3 to have somebody else's cooties put on this game. Yeah. Granted, it's probably in excellent condition, but whatever. Right. I don't know. For me, I just can't justify that.
Man, I would, with the way that they do all these like redeemable codes and stuff. I don't know if they even do this anymore, but for a while they were doing that, and it's like that code's probably been used, and you're not even gonna get that. That's probably more than $3 worth of the game.
Yeah, I was at Best Buy the other day, and I was looking at the games, and you know how they have used games now. And
Yeah.
they specifically have a sticker on there that says, if this game has some kind of, what are those called? I just completely blanked out.
They used to call them like online passes.
Yeah, an online pass. It specifically says, if this game has an online pass, chances are it's probably already been used. And I thought,
So at least they're being honest with
right.
it.
I thought, really? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not, because like I said, I don't buy enough games to really know, especially games that are online. That's another thing. If you're oh man, I'm glad you said that, because if you're bringing out a game that does not need online multiplayer capability,
Dude.
do not put it in your game. I will not buy it first week or first month, because you spent resources on putting that into your game that could have been spent on better graphics assets, better audio assets, better story, better development, better bug fixing, better QA, just all that stuff. You're wasting your money, and you should not be rewarded for that. That's a whole nother topic to talk about in of itself, though.
By the way, listeners, you're listening to a podcast with two developers. So
Yes.
this is not our first rodeo with this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And, we've worked together quite a bit over the years, and Michael can certainly vouch for the level of quality that I strive for in software that I work on. And so, oh man.
Things don't just happen.
Yeah,
they just don't appear.
There's a long distance between I can make that happen and I can release a production-ready product in which that happens.
Yes. And
But
it's
most
never
people don't see it that way.
It's never good. It is never good when that kind of stuff happens. It's like Uncharted 3, I think it was 3, had multiplayer. It's like, this is garbage. Why would anybody even play this?
It doesn't even make sense within the canon.
Right.
Why would you have that? Okay. Anyway, I need to stop, because that's something that I feel, if you can't already tell, that I feel very passionate about.
I think we both do.
Holy crap. Okay. So, I want to make a point before we wrap this up, though, about a philosophical stance on used versus new. We've talked a lot about, rewarding developers by buying new. And we haven't talked about the kind of the opposite or the inverse of that, which is rewarding the people who are selling the used games. And I'm not going to say retailers, because it's not always retailers. Sometimes you buy from individuals. Sometimes you buy from just traders, which, I mean, yeah, okay, they're not a retailer per se. They may be, but they may not be. You're choosing, when you buy used versus new, what part of the industry you want to support. And I've said, I buy a lot of used games, so that sounds like, oh, Jordan, you don't support new development. And I don't in general. And this is going to sound really controversial, so, warning on that. I don't in general support new development, precisely because some of the things we just touched on a second ago, because the industry as a whole does not reward innovation. When I say the industry, I mean the production side of the industry does not encourage innovation, does not encourage, quality in some cases, right?
Yep.
There are so many Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 instances of video games that ship that are not ready to be released. Not only not ready from a, they got a bunch of bugs, but just pure fact of it doesn't work. Dude. When you have a day one patch that's larger than the data that ships on the disk, there is a problem in the industry. When that is acceptable, there's a problem in the industry. So yes, I buy used to punish. And that seems so mean, but I mean, I as the consumer are the one who has that power, and if I want change, that's the way that I can affect change. I want to punish those kinds of practices. And notice, like Mario Maker, I bought that brand new early on, right? It's only been out for maybe a month max.
Yeah.
And so I know when I see something that's worth encouraging in the industry, and that's what I want to try to do when I can. Sometimes I see it, but I just can't because you don't always have money to spend on video games.
Yep.
But when I do, I try to make sure that I try to make that expenditure as effective as possible in bringing about the kind of industry that I want to see.
Yep.
And I've said this before on the podcast, and I'm sure I'll say it again. I would not be sad to see AAA video gaming go away, like 100% go away. And that I know that's a controversial statement, but I don't care. I'm not like one of these people that are like indie games forever, but you can make with the way technology is now, you can make an excellent game that from an enjoyment standpoint is as good as any game you can buy right now with a budget that is not $10+ million or $5+ million. You don't need that kind of money. What you need is a dedicated, creative, passionate staff, and those are the kind of studios that I want to support. Those are not generally speaking, now I'm not going to say I can't make a blatant mistake, but generally those aren't the studios you're supporting when you buy those AAA titles.
Yep.
You're supporting the ones, the studios that force all of their employees through burnout to just keep going, cranking, going. And that's just not good for anybody's quality of life, and it's certainly not good for quality of product. They can make good products, but obviously, as we see, there are holes in everything.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm going to get off this soapbox. If not, I'll be here for another 3 hours preaching a sermon.
We could definitely have part 2 at some point.
Yeah, I think we might have to. But
I think we
that's
just
all I'm
spawned
going
like
to say.
3 different topics from this topic.
Yeah. That's all I'm going to say for right now. I've talked a lot. Mike, is there anything else you want to add to this? Because I know you have lots of passionate thoughts about this as well.
Matt, I think we need to wrap it up. I could as well continue going on for another 3 or 4 hours on this, but
yeah, that's probably in everyone's best interest at this point. So, all right then. Well, that's all we were going to cover today in the podcast, and I think we got a good one out of it. I feel good. I feel energized with the ability to kind of put all of that thought out there. It's one of those things where I think about all this kind of stuff a whole lot, but I very rarely talk about it.
Exactly.
And so it's good to be able to kind of vent like that and kind of just say kind of what you're about. It's a good thing. So
yes. So thank you for listening to our ramblings and our ventings and our sayings.
Yes, thank you very much for sticking around with us. So, before we sign off here, I need to give all of the plugs, including hair plugs.
You plug those plugs.
So, videogamemetal.com, that's where you can download our music. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're a band. We have several albums up there. Pay what you want, $0. That's fine by us. We just want you to take a listen, and we hope you enjoy it. If you want to throw a few bucks our way, thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Like any amount of money, that's just awesome. That helps us to continue to do things. Pay for all kinds of things that we do pay for with this, like equipment to do recording and whatnot. It's every penny helps. So thank you very much for that. Twitter.com/order-of-tier, Instagram.com/order-of-tier, Facebook/order-of-tier, all those things. We are on SoundCloud as well. You can pick up the podcast from SoundCloud.com/videogamemetal. We are also on iTunes and Stitcher. So if you use either of those fine applications, you can hear us there as well.
Yep.
And
don't forget to check us out on Vine.
Don't ever check us out on Vine. Do not go to vine.co/order-of-tier. You will regret your life if you do. But don't do it. All right. Anything else before we head out of here, Mr.
Negatory.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for sticking with us on this podcast, taking a listen to what we have to say. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another podcast. And until then, I'm Jordan B. Sanders. That guy is Mike the Hammer K. Kludzinski. We'll see you next time.
Have a good day, Internet.
Goodbye.